My name is Cindy Blanchett, and I'm an RN here at Cary Medical Center. And this year is my 48th year in nursing. In November of 2018, the Jefferson Cary Foundation and the Maine Cancer Foundation created my grant. And it's based on the age group of 50 to 75-year-olds. My grant is called Screen Aroostook, I Count. This grant is based on statistics from 2016, and the need was very, very real. Did you know that colorectal cancer is higher here in Aroostook County than anywhere else in Maine and anywhere else in the US? Unfortunately, this is true. Colon cancer incidents are listed here nationally. 15.1 out of every 100,000 people have colorectal cancer. In Maine, it's 16.1 out of every 100,000. And here in Aroostook County, it is 20 out of every 100,000. For colorectal screening in this age group, 57% people underwent colonoscopies here in Aroostook County. 63% were screened in Maine, and 67.3% were screened nationally. Our grant's goal is to decrease morbidity and mortality due to colon cancer here in Aroostook. We want to increase the percentage of those being screened in this age group. And the really true success of our project rests on the active engagement of our partners that are listed here. Cary Medical Center, Pines Health Center, Holton Regional Hospital, Catardhan Valley Health Center, Northern Maine Medical Center, and Northern Light at A.R. Boole Hospital in Presque Isle. Working closely with their healthcare providers, these partners are working to improve our screening ratio here in Aroostook County. The National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable has established a goal of 80% for all colorectal screening. And by partnering together, we're providing education to the residents of Aroostook County to increase that screening percentage. This is a sad slide. Nearly 300 Mainers die annually from colorectal cancer. And of these occurrences, 90% of those could have been prevented had they had earlier screening. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer in the US, and that's both for women and men. Lung cancer right now is #1. Our guidelines for screening are created through the US Preventative Service Task Force. And right now, that screening age for colorectal cancer screening is 50 to 75. And you probably have heard that the age is looking at dropping. Well, that is because our American Cancer Society has made that recommendation that the screening age be lowered to 45. It'll be the US Preventative Service Task Force that will need to be the ones to make this change if it is approved. Our insurance coverages are built around the guidelines that are made by our US Preventative Task Force service. And screening after age 75 is really a discussion between the patient and the healthcare provider if it would be best for that person to be screened or not. In this age group of 50 to 75, 1/4 have never been screened. And 85% of this age group have insurance, but they still don't want to be screened. So what does this really mean? Many people think that once you have colorectal cancer, it's incurable. And I want to tell you how wrong you truly are. Colorectal cancer, if diagnosed early, has a 75% cure rate. And the real key here is early detection. Unfortunately, people choose not to be screened for several reasons. Some really hate the prep. Some are worried that they'll have more bills for copays. Some people hate to ask others to give them a ride in order to get the procedure. Some people really don't want to take time off from work. And some people are really worried about what if they find something. And being in the time that we're in right now, some are worried about catching coronavirus, and that is a true fear. So we really look at these people and their reasonings, and we encourage them to get out and get screened. If everyone 50 to 75 had regular screenings, at like 60% of these people, of their deaths from colorectal cancer could have been prevented, and that's a huge number. So I want to take you to GI 101. I think we need to really know what happens in our body with our colon to better understand colorectal cancer. First, the small intestine does our absorption, and whatever's left over is moved on into our large intestine, which is about 5 feet in length. Our waste enters through the cecum, and it travels up through the ascending colon and on to the transverse colon and down to the descending. During this time, it is removing the water and the salts that we have within our body. So what is left over is called stool, and it will wait at that sigmoid until their time is present for eliminating it from our body. Our objective is to help you understand colorectal cancer and recognize its symptoms, and to help you to live a more preventative life. So looking at this slide, you'll see on the left, you have some polyps, and they are benign. And on the right, you have malignant polyps, and actually the one on the far right has actually advanced out of the colon. Colorectal actually starts with a precancerous polyp, and over time, that polyp can grow into a cancer. So polyps, when they're found early and removed, prevent that from growing into what could be a cancer. And again, if it's found early, the better the treatment results. Colorectal cancer can have symptoms, and it can have no symptoms. So if you have symptoms present, you would look at losing weight without dieting. You may have blood in the stool that's noted, abdominal discomfort, some stool changes that the stool narrows. You may have prolonged diarrhea and constipation. And you may see a decrease in one's appetite. And you should always see your healthcare provider for any symptoms that are there, only because it doesn't mean you have a cancer. There actually may be something else that's going on. And again, remember, early treatment if indeed it is a malignancy that's found. So you may ask, how at risk am I for a colorectal cancer being found? If there's a family history of colorectal cancer or colorectal polyps, that's an important thing to discuss with your physician or your healthcare provider. If there's a history of inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, those are areas that the healthcare provider would want to discuss with you. And there's a genetic syndrome called FAP or Lynch syndrome that runs in families. And there's actually a blood test that we can do to see if you are a carrier for this syndrome. We have a website that's called screenaroostook.com. And on our website, we utilize the colonoscopy prep tips from Dr. Lynn Betterly. And she is the director of colorectal screening from Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. And one of the things that she's really done in her presentation is make people understand the very importance of being truly cleaned out well for a colonoscopy, and how the results really help your physician to better determine what is going on. So I would encourage you to go to my website and view this video. So you may ask, well, how come, what kind of testing do they actually do for colorectal cancer? And there are several. I wanted to share with you a couple. We do guaiac testing in the doctor's office, where they use the chemical guaiac to detect if blood is in the stool. We also do FIT testing, fecal immunochemical testing. And this actually uses antibodies to detect if blood is in the stool. And this test is highly sensitive, and it's very specific when compared to other guaiacs. One of the nice things about this test is you don't have to fast for it, and you don't have to limit any of the medications you're taking to do that test specifically. Many people prefer this test just due to time constraints and the cost is cheaper, and the fact that they don't have to take a day off or arrange transportation in order to have that testing done. These are two different scopings that we do. The one on the right I'd like to talk about first, and that's called a flexible sigmoidoscopy. That's a little shorter tube that actually looks at the lower third of the colon. And this test is done every 5 years if the physician feels that it's indicated with the patient's history. And they actually can be looking for polyps or any changes that are noted from that lower colon. On the left-hand side, we have the colonoscopy, and this is the one we're very familiar with and that we hear about that we have to get done every 10 years. One thing you need to know is if you do any form of testing and any of the tests are positive, you will have a colonoscopy in order to get further information. And this tube is able to be inserted and visualize the entire colon. If any polyps are seen, they're easily removed and sent to pathology to confirm if there is or is not a cancer present. I really can't emphasize how important it is to know your family history. 15% of colorectal cancers have a family history noted. There's really not a single best test. The best test is actually the one that the patient is willing to do. Your healthcare provider is the person that you should be discussing which test is best for you. And also it's your responsibility to check with your health insurance company to see tests are covered or not. And I would encourage you to always do that with any test in healthcare. If you wanted to ask yourself, well, how could I prevent colon cancer? What could I do to make some changes? Well, I really want to talk to you about the word fiber. I think that's pretty important. And we have fiber that actually comes in a couple ways, soluble and insoluble. So I just want to discuss that by first saying the average American eats about 12 grams of fiber per day. The actual daily requirement for a woman is 25 grams, and for a man is 30 grams of fiber. So I first want to just give you some insight on how can you add more fiber to your diet. When you buy bread, you want to be looking for whole grain and whole wheat. For breakfast, consider adding some oatmeal and fruit. And you can certainly look that the fruit is lower in calorie. And if you choose rice, add brown rice instead of white rice. Eating whole fruit actually has a very great benefit. It's going to fill you up longer, it's lower in calorie, and those fruit skins are loaded with extra fiber. Add granola to yogurt, add beans to salads, and raw vegetables can be certainly utilized with hummus. And you can make your own hummus out of chickpeas. Smoothies are made out of berries, and they can be fresh or frozen, and they add a great snack for our body for giving us extra fiber. One other area where fiber can be added is with flaxseed and chia seeds, and these can be added to salads and baked goods. They have soluble and insoluble fiber, so looking at the chart here, soluble dissolves in water and slows down digestion, giving you that much fuller feeling, and insoluble actually adds bulk to your diet and helps with constipation and really gives you that benefit. This is an area that really helps to remove toxins from your body, and it reduces colorectal cancer and other cancers as well, and also including heart disease and lowering diabetes. So this is a smart way to change our diet. So adding fiber to your diet is one thing we can do. We can also add exercise. And exercise 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, is the recommendation of American Heart. You can certainly start out slow, 15 minutes, and build as you go. And this is a very preventative way to enhance our bodies every day. I'd really like to share with you what's happening in the area of research. And I think that's pretty important. And I've taken this out of Dana-Farber. And they have listed 5 things that they really felt people needed to know to help prevent colon cancer. And the first is live a healthy lifestyle. Obesity and lack of exercise can increase insulin levels, and that may help to drive up those cancer cells growth. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Eating that healthy plant-based diet that's low in red and processed meats and they also encouraged exercise. Eating nuts and drinking coffee. Studies show that nuts can help decrease the risk for colorectal cancer by reducing insulin resistance. Eating 1 ounce of nuts 5 or more times per week has been found to reduce death from all causes by 20%. I thought that was interesting. Coffee may lower the risk of colorectal cancer and help reduce the risk of reoccurrences in survivors. Like nuts, coffee has been linked to reducing insulin resistance. So you may ask, what does that mean? The hormone insulin actually helps our bodies to control the amount of glucose within our blood, our sugar. With insulin resistance, the body's cells do not respond as normal to insulin. So the glucose cannot enter the cells as easily. So the glucose begins building up within the blood. This leads to type 2 diabetes. And in America, we see this happen to over 3 million people annually. This is a huge problem here in our country. So how do we change this picture? We can reverse insulin resistance by adding daily exercise and even walking. If weight gain is part of our problem, we can look at losing a few pounds. And also by decreasing the carbs in our diet is a great start. This one here I want to just share with you. It says considering taking aspirin, and that's the low dose aspirin, can reduce the risk of colorectal cancer up to 40%. That's pretty important that you speak with your doctor because not everybody should be adding supplements or aspirin over the counter without really having a heart-to-heart talk with your healthcare provider. Not everybody should be doing that. Vitamin D. This is a study that's going on in cancer prevention and how it benefits others. And vitamin D and calcium are like a lock and a key. They need to work together in order to get to that benefit. This is a list of the screening recommendations from Dana-Farber that has been, again, from the U.S. Preventative Task Force and when people are due for those testing. And again, it's really important to speak to your doctor about screening. Know your family history. I can't share that enough. And it's sometimes things that we don't really talk about at home, but it's a huge benefit when you're speaking to your healthcare provider when he needs to know more about do you have a risk. If you think you do have an elevated risk, talk to your doctor about what screening should be done and perhaps even earlier than the recommended age of 50. You might want to be one of those people that your physician wants to have you screened even earlier. I hope that you've learned something from what I've shared with you today, and I'd like to invite you to go to screenaroostook.com. We can give you more information there. There's a little quiz and to get more facts. We also have a Facebook page called Screen Aroostook. Please check us out. And I know we're pretty busy people. We all are with our many calendars and activities. If we took just a few minutes and slowed down the pace and re-examined our daily diet and our exercise plan, I think we could all make those little small changes in our lifestyle that would enhance our life with a little bit of prevention in the plan. And for those around you, you would become probably a role model to educating even others. So while you're at screenaroostook.com, please fill out a form that you visited our website and submit it, and you'll receive a wellness gift from Screen Aroostook. Thank you very much for your time. To your health.